Last week, I moved from Todoist to TickTick, and in this video, I'm sharing my experience. I've been using Todoist as well as Evernote Legacy for notes for over 5 years already, and I've been aware of TickTick for over a year as well. I also have a deep dive comparison video on Todoist versus TickTick. However, I felt that I was now ready for TickTick's slightly more advanced feature set, which includes a habit tracker, a focus timer, as well as notes. Let's talk about the move itself first, which was, well, rocky, to say the least. I was eager to try TickTick's import functionality with my hundreds of lists and tasks in Todoist. They were all moved over, but that is really saying everything because the rest was a disaster. Here's what went wrong. My projects and nested projects in Todoist did not translate into folders and nested lists in TickTick. Instead, I found my lists all over the place in random order and I needed to rearrange them manually. All my task descriptions were lost. This led me to manually finding each task separately and copy-pasting the description over from Todoist into the TickTick task. Number 3, all my labels were lost. They were not turned into TickTick tags. These two I had to recreate and then reassociate with every task separately. And that was probably the one that took the most time. Recurring tasks that I had set up in Todoist were not carried over. Instead, TickTick only displayed the due date of the task first in line, and I had to add repetitions myself for all of them. Next up, filters. They were also lost, and I can't forgive this one to a degree since it's a second level configuration based on first level things like lists, tags, and dates, and that is all not easy to copy and understand from another app altogether. But yeah, I did have to recreate them. However, TickTick's wizard made this easy. What annoyed me more though is that project sections were also destroyed. I organized many of my Todoist projects into these sections with a board view. This is something that TickTick also supports. They call it the Kanban view, but they have just the same sections. However, their import feature just dumped all of the associated project items into a sectionless list, which, you guessed it, I had to recreate it all. What also stood out to me is that special characters that are officially not allowed in list titles were actually present from lists that I copied over from Todoist. However, when I edited them and wanted to save it, I really couldn't. So which is it, allowed or not allowed? Completed tasks and subtasks were not moved over, and I get that. If every task from Todoist that was completed was also imported into TickTick, that would be a lot of data. However, for open tasks with subtasks, that started to look very strange because only the uncompleted subtasks were migrated, and I had some goals set up in Todoist where I checked off milestones as subtasks, and I couldn't see those anymore. Next up, uncompletable tasks in Todoist were not turned into TickTick notes. Todoist actually has a neat way of making a task uncompletable and therefore treating it as a note by adding an asterisk with a space to the task name. And TickTick has a dedicated notes feature. However, unfortunately, it did not make the connection between the two, and they were all tasks. TickTick does have some documentation on the Todoist imports functionality limitations. However, this documentation is not linked from the import setting itself, so I discovered it after the fact, and it does not cover all the points I mentioned in this video. In the end, I had to spend about 3 hours manually fixing what the import didn't do properly. So now the big question remains, of course, was it all worth it? Well, we're 2 weeks in now, and here are some of my experiences from using TickTick on a daily basis. The biggest noticeable change for me was the lack of second level nesting. In Todoist, I nested some lists up to 3 levels down, and in TickTick, I'm confined to 1 level within folders. Surprisingly though, this hasn't bothered me much at all. What's bothering me a bit more is that I cannot see which folder a list belongs to when I quickly associate it through markup. You can use this approximation symbol to move an item into a list, and I've got several standalone items lists that all have the same name within different folders. So when I try to move one there, I see multiple lists with the same name and I need to move it there manually with the mouse to make sure it's the right one. In the end, I fixed this by adding a separate name to each standalone list, but it's not intuitive, and Todoist does have a menu showing you what folder or main lists something belongs to. One feature I didn't even expect but has been a game changer is task interlinking. It is super easy to copy the link of an individual item and then paste it into another item, which will automatically show up as a clickable link with that other item's name. In Todoist, this was only possible through workarounds, and the title of the link usually defaulted to just Todoist. The notes feature is also a game changer for me. The simple markup options and focused writing mode is all I need. I was pleasantly surprised to see that Grammarly also works with TickTick notes, which greatly eased my writing workflow. I also love how these are separate item types compared to tasks, as they cannot be completed but they can still share lists with tasks, as they often do with projects. I was also eager to try desktop widgets, and while they've helped me to do things more easily, I haven't used them as intensively as I thought I would have. If anything, they've made me feel a bit anxious at times, with my to-dos now facing me from yet another place, and I need to watch out for creating a toxic, always-on mentality. Fortunately, they are easy to hide. I've been enjoying habits. I like how they're separate from tasks and routines, and you can choose to hide them from other views, but still be reminded about them. I would like to see TickTick add an option for descriptions and links to other TickTick items as it does with task interlink. I love the calendar view. A lack of this view in Todoist was actually one of the main drivers behind my decision to move, and it hasn't disappointed. With its seamless Google Calendar integration and the ability to easily filter out specific lists, it's honestly been a joy to have all my time commitments in one place. So all in all, despite a rocky start, I am happy that I've made the move. It's been a long time coming, as I've had my eye on TickTick for over a year, and I've reviewed it in depth on my channel already, with many users recommending it. Although TickTick certainly is not perfect, it is the right choice for me at this time, and I'm looking forward to using it more long term. Having said that, Todoist has served me extremely well. It's still one of my favorite productivity apps, and I still recommend you check it out if you're not sure yet which one is best for you. I also have a deep dive power user course on Todoist that you can follow so you can get the most out of it. And yes, I've heard you. A power user course for TickTick is now also in the making, and I'm expecting to release it somewhere around September. I also want to hear from you. Have you made the move from Todoist to TickTick, or from any other app into TickTick? What was the move like? How much work did you have fixing everything if you had to? And are you happy with your decision? Let us know in the comments so others will benefit from it as well. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.